The gentle hum of existence, the rhythm of our own breath, these are the constants we've come to know over a lifetime. We've seen seasons change, watched the moon wax and wane, and felt the sun on our skin for decades. But what about the final transition? What happens when the rhythm of our heart ceases and our breath fades into silence? This question, a profound and deeply personal one, looms larger as we accumulate more yesterdays than we can count on for our tomorrows. And within this great mystery lies a more specific, modern-day question that troubles the minds of many. In the final act of returning our physical form to the elements through fire, does the spirit, the very essence of who we are, experience pain? The thought of a loved one or even ourselves enduring a final agony is a deeply unsettling prospect. We're not here to offer you platitudes or simple comforts. We are here to delve into the archives of one of the most documented and astonishing mystics of the 20th century, Edgar Cayce, to uncover a truth that is not only surprising, but also profoundly reassuring. Prepare to have your understanding of life, death, and the journey beyond completely transformed. Before we unlock these profound insights, take a moment to subscribe to our channel and click the like button. By doing so, you are not just supporting us, you are joining a community of seekers, individuals who, like you, are looking for deeper meaning and understanding in a world that often feels too focused on the superficial. Your support allows us to continue bringing you content that nourishes the soul and expands the mind. The man we turn to for answers, Edgar Cayce, was no ordinary individual. He was a humble man from Kentucky who, in a self-induced hypnotic state, could access a level of consciousness that seemed to tap into a universal source of knowledge. From this state, he could diagnose illnesses, describe past lives, and peer into the spiritual realms with breathtaking clarity. His psychic readings, over 14,000 of them, have been preserved and studied for decades, offering a wealth of information on everything from health and healing to the very nature of our existence. Cayce was not a philosopher in the traditional sense. He did not construct his theories from intellectual reasoning. Instead, he claimed to be a channel for information from a higher source, a conduit for truths that lie beyond our everyday perception. And when it came to the subject of death, his pronouncements were not only consistent, but also revolutionary for their time. To truly grasp Cayce's answer to our central question about cremation, we must first understand his vision of what a human being truly is. In his view, we are not just physical bodies that happen to have a soul. We are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. The body, he explained, is merely a vessel, a temporary home for the soul on its long journey of evolution and learning. He often used the analogy of a car and its driver. The car, our body, can get old, break down, and eventually be discarded. But the driver, the soul, remains unharmed and continues on its journey. This fundamental concept is the key to unlocking the mystery of what we experience after our last breath. So, what happens at the moment of death, according to Cayce? His readings paint a picture not of an ending, but of a birth. Just as a baby leaves the confinement of the womb to enter a vast new world, the soul at the moment of death leaves the limitations of the physical body to enter the boundless realms of the spirit. He spoke of a silver cord, a concept that has echoes in many spiritual traditions, and even in the Bible, in the book of Ecclesiastes. This silver cord, he explained, is an energetic link that connects our physical body to our spiritual body. It is the tether that keeps the soul anchored to the physical plane. As long as this cord is intact, there is life. At the moment of death, this cord is gently and painlessly severed. It is this severing that marks the final, irreversible departure of the spirit from its earthly vessel, and this is where we find the direct and unequivocal answer to our question. Edgar Cayce was adamant in his readings that the spirit, the conscious essence of who we are, is no longer connected to the physical body after the silver cord is broken. The body at that point is simply an empty shell, a garment that has been laid aside. Therefore, whatever happens to the physical body after death, whether it is buried in the earth or consumed by fire, is of no consequence to the spirit. The spirit, he assured, feels no pain, no discomfort, no distress. It is free. It has moved on. The idea of the spirit lingering and suffering as its former home is cremated is, from Cayce's perspective, a fundamental misunderstanding of the process of death. Let's delve deeper into the specifics of Cayce's readings on this topic. On numerous occasions, when asked directly about cremation by individuals planning for their own passing or grieving for a loved one, Cayce's response was not one of condemnation or warning. In fact, in some cases, he even recommended it as a clean and efficient way of returning the physical elements to their source. He saw no spiritual downside to the practice. His focus was always on the soul, not the body. He was far more concerned with how a person lived their life than with what happened to their body after they were finished with it. He would emphasize that the state of the soul at the time of death, the thoughts, the intentions, the love, and the lessons learned, was what truly mattered for the journey ahead. To further ease the minds of those troubled by the thought of fire, Cayce would often use analogies. He would compare the body to a suit of clothes. When we are done with an old, worn-out suit, we discard it. We don't worry about what happens to it. We don't imagine that the suit can feel anything. The same, he said, is true of the body. It is a temporary garment for the soul. Once the soul has departed, the garment is just that, a collection of elements that can be returned to nature in various ways. Cremation, in this light, is simply a rapid form of decomposition, a swift and clean return to the building blocks of the universe. But Cayce's teachings on death go far beyond simply allaying our fears about cremation. He offered a comprehensive and hopeful vision of the afterlife that can bring immense comfort, especially to those of us who have lived long lives and are naturally contemplating what comes next. He described a process of transition, a period of adjustment after leaving the physical body. He spoke of a life review not as a fearsome judgment, but as a compassionate and educational experience. We would, he said, re-experience our lives not just from our own perspective, but from the perspective of every person we ever interacted with. We would feel the joy we brought to others and the pain we caused them. This, he explained, is not a punishment, but a powerful learning tool, a way for the soul to understand the consequences of its actions and to grow in wisdom and compassion. After this life review, the soul would then move on to a realm of existence that corresponds to its level of spiritual development. He described various planes or dimensions of reality, each with its own vibration and lessons. These were not the simplistic heaven and hell of traditional religion, but more like spiritual schools, places where souls could continue to learn, grow, and work through the patterns and challenges they had not resolved on earth. For Cayce, the journey of the soul was an eternal one, a continuous process of returning to our divine source, of becoming more and more a conscious co-creator with God. This vision of the afterlife has profound implications for how we live our lives now, especially in our later years. It suggests that our final decades are not a time for winding down and waiting for the end. They are a crucial period of preparation, a time for reflection, for forgiveness, for letting go of old resentments, and for cultivating the qualities of the soul that we will carry with us into the next life: love, compassion, patience, and understanding. Cayce's readings encourage us to see aging not as a decline, but as a spiritual ripening, a time when the wisdom of a lifetime can come to fruition. Let's explore some of the practical advice that can be gleaned from Cayce's teachings for those of us in our golden years. He was a strong advocate for the power of our minds and our attitudes. He believed that our thoughts create our reality, both in this life and the next. Therefore, he would urge us to cultivate a positive and hopeful outlook, to focus on gratitude for the life we have lived, and to look forward to the next stage of our journey with curiosity and anticipation rather than fear. He would also emphasize the importance of staying engaged in life, of finding a purpose, of being of service to others in whatever way we can. He often said that the best way to prepare for the afterlife is to live this life to the fullest, to love and to serve with all our hearts. He also spoke about the importance of forgiveness, both of others and of ourselves. Carrying grudges and resentments, he warned, is like carrying a heavy weight that burdens the soul and hinders its progress. Our later years are a perfect time to do the inner work of letting go, of making peace with our past, and of mending broken relationships where possible. This is not always easy, but Cayce's readings assure us that the effort is well worth it, as it frees the soul to move on into the light unencumbered by the shadows of the past. Furthermore, Cayce was a great proponent of meditation and prayer. He saw these practices as essential tools for connecting with our higher selves and with the divine. For those of us facing the end of our physical lives, taking time for quiet contemplation can be a source of immense strength and comfort. It can help us to quiet our fears, to find inner peace, and to feel a sense of connection to something larger than ourselves. Through meditation, we can begin to experience the reality of our spiritual nature even while we are still in the physical body, making the final transition less of a leap into the unknown and more of a gentle homecoming. Now let's circle back to the central theme of cremation and expand on it with the richness of Cayce's spiritual philosophy. When we understand his vision of the continuity of life, the practice of cremation takes on a new and even beautiful symbolism. Fire, in many spiritual traditions, is seen as a purifier. It is a transformative element that breaks down old forms and releases their essence. In this context, cremation can be seen as a sacred act of releasing the soul from its final ties to the physical world, a symbolic gesture of liberation and return to the spirit. It can be a powerful and poignant ritual for the living, a way of honoring the life that was and of entrusting the soul of the departed to its onward journey. It's also worth noting that Cayce's perspective on this matter can be a great source of comfort to those who are grieving. The loss of a loved one is one of the most painful experiences we can go through. To add to that pain, the worry that our loved one might be suffering in some way after their passing is an almost unbearable burden. Cayce's clear and consistent message on this is a gift of peace. It allows us to let go of that fear and to focus instead on sending our love and our prayers to the soul of the departed, knowing that they are safe, that they are at peace, and that they are continuing their journey in a realm of light and love. But what about those who have had near-death experiences and have reported seeing their own bodies from above? Don't these accounts suggest that there is still some connection, some awareness of the physical form even after the heart has stopped? Cayce's teachings are entirely consistent with these experiences. He would explain that during such events, the soul is temporarily outside the body, but the silver cord is still intact. This is why people are able to return to their bodies and to life. The final irreversible separation has not yet occurred. These experiences, in fact, support Cayce's view that our consciousness is not dependent on the brain or the physical body. They are a glimpse into the reality that we are indeed spiritual beings, capable of existing independently of our physical forms. Let's consider the emotional and psychological impact of embracing Cayce's perspective on death and the afterlife, particularly as we get older. Fear of death is one of the most fundamental human anxieties. It can cast a long shadow over our later years, preventing us from living fully and joyfully in the present moment. Cayce's teachings offer a powerful antidote to this fear. By reframing death as a natural transition, as a doorway to a new and expanded life, he invites us to release our anxiety and to embrace the whole of our life's journey, including its conclusion, with a sense of peace and acceptance. This is not about denying the sadness of parting from our loved ones or the physical challenges of aging. It is about holding that sadness and those challenges within a larger, more hopeful context. Moreover, his emphasis on the soul's continuous journey of learning and growth can give a profound sense of meaning and purpose to our entire lives, right up to the very end. It suggests that nothing is wasted. Every experience, every joy, every sorrow, every mistake, and every triumph has been a part of our soul's curriculum. Our lives, in this view, are not just a random series of events, but a meaningful story of spiritual evolution. This can be an incredibly empowering perspective, helping us to look back on our lives with a sense of gratitude and accomplishment, and to look forward to the future, both in this life and the next, with a sense of purpose and anticipation. Let's also address a common concern that may arise from this discussion. If the body is just a vessel, does that mean we shouldn't care for it? Absolutely not. Cayce was a great advocate for holistic health and for treating the body with respect and care. He would say that the body is the temple of the soul, and that we have a responsibility to keep it as healthy and vibrant as possible for as long as possible. A healthy body allows the soul to have a clearer and more effective experience on the physical plane, but he would also remind us not to become overly attached to the body, not to identify with it to the exclusion of our true spiritual nature. It is a matter of balance. We should honor and care for our physical vessel, while at the same time remembering that we are so much more than just our bodies. In conclusion, the wisdom of Edgar Cayce shines a bright and comforting light on one of our deepest and most persistent fears. His answer to the question of whether the spirit feels pain during cremation is a resounding and unequivocal no. The spirit, he assures us, is long gone from its physical home before the flames ever touch it. It has been released into a new dimension of existence, a new chapter in its eternal journey. This is not just a comforting thought, it is a transformative truth that has the power to change not only how we view death, but also how we live our lives. By embracing this perspective, we can let go of the fear of our own passing and the anxiety we feel for our loved ones. We can face the future with a sense of peace and trust, knowing that life is a continuous and unfolding adventure, and that death is not an end, but a new beginning. We can focus on what truly matters, living with love, with purpose, and with compassion, and preparing our souls for the magnificent journey that awaits us all beyond the veil. The legacy of Edgar Cayce is a precious gift, a legacy of hope, of healing, and of profound spiritual insight that continues to illuminate the path for seekers of all ages, guiding us gently and lovingly towards a deeper understanding of the great and beautiful mystery of our existence.